Welcome back to another episode of STEM in Stilettos. This is your host, Zofia Morales, and today I am here with Muji Bekomson, and we are going to discuss going beyond data and devices, designing women's health tech that actually supports us. So if you have ever struggled with going to the doctor and getting dismissive answers that don't make sense for your situation, if you're tired of navigating hormonal health challenges alone, you have arrived in the right place today. Muji is the founder of FEMME Health Companion, built to make women's health feel simple, human, and rooted in solidarity for real life. Muji saw firsthand how cold women's health is, how current solutions created more gaps rather than closing gaps. And this became personal when she was told to just get pregnant to escape her period symptoms, a moment that sparked her mission to bridge the gap between a cold system, digital noise, and real life support. Recognized as top 50 voice in African tech, and as She Leads Africa top 50 rising motherland mogul, Muji is dedicated to using tech for what is necessary, not just what is possible. Her work through FEMME meets women where they are, helping them live through hormonal conditions with agency, validation, and safety. Welcome to the show today, Muji. I'm so happy to have you here with me.
Thanks for having me, Zofia.
This is incredible. A top 50 voice in African tech, and She Leads Africa, and Motherland Mogul. This is all like amazing titles that we would all aspire to have attached to us. But introduce us to Muji, the woman, the one who's found her way into this world. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Thank you so much, Zofia. I'm glad to be here. And my journey did not start like every other person's journey would have started. So I'm a medical laboratory scientist by education, and I grew up basically in the labs trying to solve problems and watching problems occur every day. But I never thought that there could be more. There could be more to healthcare, there could be more to me, there could be more to what I could do for the ecosystem. But one of those days, I had been struggling a lot with menstrual symptoms, period pains throughout my teenage years. And then I finally found the boldness to meet a doctor and talk about it. And so I
Yeah,
started,
and it's not an easy thing to do. I
yeah,
just want to put out there that can be a challenging conversation to have, especially if you're not dealing with a female physician sitting across the table from you. And even
yeah,
then, it can be hard.
definitely. But I think what gave me the courage was that I was a scientist in the hospital. And so I felt like I was speaking to a colleague who would understand. But
Yes,
I was
a
wrong.
peer who would treat you like a peer, right?
But I was wrong. So after narrating my ordeal and everything I was dealing with, he just smiled and said, just get pregnant and escape the symptoms. And that was when I knew this was real.
What a thoughtless answer, though. I mean, really. Yes, although some women feel amazing during pregnancy, my mother was one of these. Her best time in her life was while she was pregnant, but it doesn't end at the end of 9 months. This isn't a state you can maintain on a day-to-day basis. And if you do, you end up with hordes of children, which creates a whole different problem in your life.
Yes, yes, for sure. And that moment was, I felt dismissed, I felt overlooked. I felt like my journey, my story, everything I was dealing with was reduced to just get pregnant. And then
Mhm.
if I, as a colleague, would get such a response, I can only imagine what other random women would have had to deal with or had to hear when they spoke about what they were going through. So that moment was my rebel origin story. I tried to be anti the system and do things differently. And instead of burning things down like a rebel would, I decided to build, to do
There you
something.
go.
And I realized that we needed something that sees women, not another doctor, not another hospital, not another clinical manual, something that sees women and is intentional about supporting their realities. And so that was how FEMME was born, not because of science or because of tech or because of what we could do, but because of what is necessary for women. And it has been one crazy ride. I started venting about my frustrations with the system, and I found other women who shared that anger. And it
And
began
frustration, yes.
and it started like a movement. I used to have both women and men reach out to me and say, why are we talking about these kind of things? It has always been like this. We should have some shame. And I was like, shame?
Stop. Shame. Shame. It's a natural biological process. There should be no shame around this.
Absolutely. I mean, half the world population are dealing with this, and we're talking about shame. We need to talk about dignity and not shame. So it made me angrier every day. And that anger, that frustration has turned into empathy for other women. Because as I've lived through the journey, I've begun to find myself, find what works for me, build something that I needed. And so holding those experiences fully, both as a scientist and as a woman, really helps me to make FEMME meaningful, because I know what it means to be the patient. I also know what it means to understand the data and the cost of ignoring it, right? So it has guided everything that I've done so far, and I'm excited for what is to come.
I love that. And I think anger is a normal reaction,
Yeah,
honestly. When somebody comes in and completely negates your experience or gives you some off the cuff answer that's not an answer, I think that's a completely valid response. And I love what you chose to do with it because you can let it eat you up and make you into an angry woman that everybody avoids, or you can do something with it. And I
for
love
sure.
what you have chosen to do with it. So, how did this fire in your belly and people telling you, well, you should not talk about this, this is something
Yeah.
that should be shameful, how did that evolve your journey and inform your journey?
Yes. So I feel like having a background in medical laboratory science gave me the courage, because most women deal with this kind of things and just keep quiet. When the doctor says you're fine, you're stressed, you're overreacting. I mean, someone told me that she went to see her doctor with a protruding belly because of fibroids, and he told her, "Have you used the toilet today?" That was
Really,
his
that's it.
answer.
Have you had a good bowel movement recently? Well, yeah, come on now.
And so she felt embarrassed and she just sat with it and moved on. So having that, holding that experience as a medical laboratory scientist gave me the courage, actually. So I'm grateful for that privilege, I would call it, because not many women understand that this is wrong. So they just hear it's normal and they deal with it. But I knew it was not normal. I knew it could not be normal. And I decided to become an architect. So to build something that will be the translator between what the doctor says and what you are dealing with in real life. Because in the lab, we see data a lot as absolute, we see numbers. But as a woman, I also know that data does not tell you how to survive a 9 to 5, or when you're having brain fog or your mood is swinging, or you wake up in the morning and you just want to yell at everybody. All those lab results, those numbers, those figures don't matter in that moment. They don't make sense in real life. So
Yeah, it needs to be translated into something actionable, right?
definitely,
I mean, the numbers do have significance, but only if you've got a large scientific understanding to stack them up against, which most of
exactly.
us women in our day to day life, we don't have that. We don't have time to acquire that, but it would be hugely helpful to be able to tap into that.
Yeah, and even the solutions that try to explain this data are too clinical and end up making you feel like a research subject. Someone
Yes.
in pain, someone who is busy, does not want to read about progesterone and all the things that don't make sense.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And try these six things. One of them might work for you. I don't have time to try six things.
it's really crazy. And so I understood all of those things. And if it's not too clinical, it's just full of fluff,
Yes.
just patronizing you, trying to make you feel like your body is magical and this is a superpower. You have to, a lot of things that are,
Oh, yeah, those posts right there. Your period is your superpower. Oh, Yes,
Find
sort
a
of
normal.
indirectly, but this is not what a woman who's struggling with menstrual symptoms wants to hear.
Definitely. And it has really minimized our pain because people think it's normal, it's superpower, just be strong, just deal with it. And it's sad that we have to deal with it this far. And that's why I built FEMME, basically to be the bridge. And like I said, holding both perspectives as the scientist, as the patient, is actually what makes FEMME meaningful. And that difference between the doctor saying, reduce your cortisol, and FEMME saying, I know you're stressed today. This is one thing you can do to help. It's what actually makes the difference. It's about having an ally, not a manual. And that's
Yeah,
what
exactly.
healthcare doesn't
Exactly.
understand.
Yeah, and it's delivered in plain English. You don't have to know
Definitely.
anything. You don't have to learn anything to be able to interpret the advice. Whereas when they say reduce your cortisol, it's like, a humana? What are you talking about? Because in order to understand that, you have to know what cortisol is. You have to know what cortisol responds to and doesn't respond to. And yeah, no, crazy, crazy talk to just say to a patient, you need to reduce your cortisol.
Definitely. And it's not just healthcare getting it wrong. Even FemTech is getting it wrong as well, right? The obsession with vanity metrics, number of downloads, how many women got the app, what looks good in a pitch deck, what investors want. And then we forget that downloads do not translate to transformation, right? We forget
Exactly.
equity, we forget depth. So most women don't have the time to log all their symptoms or to track their mood, their energy, their saliva, their blood, their sweat.
And
It's
even if you
tiring.
try, that stuff is scattered over like six different apps.
That's the
There's no
worst part
one
of it.
app where you can just consolidate all that and get like a combined picture. Yeah. Believe me,
Yeah,
I've tried.
it's really crazy. While the doctors are trying to treat the woman who knows what cortisol means, FemTech apps are building for the woman who has all the time in the world and all the luxury to manage another dashboard every day, another learning curve. And they don't get it that these women don't exist. They don't
Yeah.
exist.
Neither of them exist, really.
So when you go ahead and build blanket solutions, you end up helping nobody. I call it one size fits none because
Yes.
you're not helping anybody right now. And the that that we really want to feel because we need to account for real world context. It's not about new apps, it's not about new features. It's about what helps. It's about equity, pushing the women where they are in their time, their schedule, their energy, and suiting their own real life context. So I think the industry as a whole, healthcare, femtech, needs to stop building for the average user and actually build for the actual user. Because as a woman, I know what it means to feel all these things. And I know that all these apps, they don't get me. And not just me, everybody else is saying it. So why are we still doing the same thing over and over again and just chasing the wrong things? So it's something that we need to come together as an industry and choose equity and depth over blanket solutions that scale fast and help nobody.
Yeah. And I think some of that goes back to taking patterns that worked in other places and trying to apply them in places where they don't work.
Yeah,
Because even
definitely.
if you look at how men's and women's bodies operate, the men has more of a daily cycle. He has this arc that happens over the course of 24 hours, and it's the same and it's predictable on a daily basis. Women don't have that. We have a much longer time arc that our bodies operate over. We're in some ways a different animal when it comes to how you can expect your body to respond during the first week of your cycle and the second week and the third week. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's exactly how we're built. That's exactly how we're made to function. There's nothing abnormal about that. It's just that the system has been designed by guys. And so it's like a foreign world to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are up on our first break already. And I would love to dig into this with you a little bit more. We'll do that when we come back from the break. What do you suggest that our listeners think about over this commercial break regarding being a woman and getting appropriate health support?
I like us to just take a moment and think about the last time you actually felt seen when you had a problem. Maybe your periods, your pain at work with your doctor, even at home. When last did you feel like they really get me? Not you'll be fine. That's what women deal with. When last did you feel like these people understand what I'm dealing with and they really see me for my biology, for what I am going through? Something that we need to reflect on so that we can see that we're not projecting the problem on you, but the problem is everywhere. It's in our homes, it's at work, it's in our family. So let's just think about it. When was the last time you felt really seen with your health struggles?
I love that. Yeah. So take your pen, take your piece of paper, and cast back for one of those moments because we can learn a lot from those moments, just like we can learn a lot from those moments where we're not seen. But I like the positive one a little better for obvious reasons. And hang with us over the break. We'll be right back.
Oh, check it out, the wolf here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales. I'm back with my guest, Muji. And before the break, she had asked you to spend a little time with your pen and your paper and to note the last time that you really felt seen when you were at the doctor's office. And I sincerely hope you have at least one of those or maybe more on your sheet. If you don't, you are still in the right place. Muji, tell us a little bit about how FEMME is different than what's available out there right now in the FemTech marketplace.
Yes, the femtech industry is obsessed with vanity metrics, number of downloads, funding rounds, and things that look nice in pitch decks and for investors. But for an average random woman juggling life, work, and her body, all these extra tools, complex dashboards, more and more endless tracking is just another chore, right?
Yes, and
It's noise.
I'm totally with you on that. As a trained scientist who knows how important it is to track these things and who's pretty good at tracking stuff, I've found that it's not sustainable long term. I can do it for a really discrete period of time to resolve maybe a specific problem that's going on, but it's not something I can do for weeks and weeks and months on end.
Yeah. And it's not just you. I feel that same way, and many other women around the world feel that same way. They feel like they're just having much more noise, much more pressure, much more unrealistic expectations to put up with, and they can't. So I decided to build invisible tech, and that is one of our guardrails at FEMME. Tech that stays at the back and lets the human be front and center, right? So
Yes.
we realize that most health apps are destinations. You have to go there. You need a reason to go there. You need to manage the app. The app becomes another. It becomes like the symptom you're dealing with. So you need to manage it. You need to deal with it as well.
Yeah, it's one more
And
thing on your daily checklist that you have to remember to go do, which
so
has
you
been my complaint with my glucose monitor. I had an early generation glucose monitor, which is fine. It would log the data, but it wouldn't download it anyplace unless I took action to do it. And if you don't take action to do it every 8 hours, you lose the data. You end up with these great gaps. And it's like,
yeah.
I had to put reminders in my calendar to scan the information off of the glucose monitor. It's not sustainable. Life happens. You can't do it.
So you see that a solution, or that's another task, another burden to deal with, right?
Yeah.
You could have these apps for weeks and forget to go there or have no reason to go there. But you have downloaded the apps, but it's not doing anything for you. It's not
Yeah.
changing you. You still feel alone. You still feel confused. You still feel frustrated. You're even scared of the apps, but because you don't know what other task you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
So we
Yeah, a lot of them give you homework. I've had a few of those. You need to do this. It's like, girl.
And
I
then
don't have time for that.
The streaks are at the end of me. I can't
Oh
deal with
God,
any
the
new streak.
streaks. No, don't make me maintain another streak.
I had to quit an app because they told me I had lost my 9-day streak. And I'm like, why? Why should I start over again?
Exactly. Why should
let
I
it go.
lose anything?
So you see, it's another burden. And that's why I decided to build FEMME to not be another tool to manage, but a companion, an ally, because that is what women need. That's what women need, basically. So you don't need to use the app. You just live with it every day. And so we decided to be available on WhatsApp. So rather than being another chat bot on WhatsApp that you go to ask a question, FEMME works as a hormone service, something that, like your room service, it knows what you need and it just brings it to you every day. And it brings it to you in a way that makes sense, in a way that is simple, in a way that fits your mood, your energy, your schedule. So you don't need to remember, oh, I need to do something healthy today. I need to drink water. I need to do this today. Every day, FEMME comes to you fresh with something that fits your journey little by little. So it's a lifelong journey. There's no streak to keep. There's no pressure to maintain any standard or perform. And because of my own experience, I made sure that empathy is a core pillar. So it's not do this or this will happen. It's can you do this? If you can't do this, can you do this? If you couldn't do this, it's okay. Just give women a space where they can just be hugged and help. Because sometimes you don't need any more lectures. You already know what's going on with you. You understand. People feel like women don't understand their bodies, but they do. They
Yeah,
understand
it's like
what's going on with them.
I know what I need to do. My frustration is I have not been able to do it.
Exactly. So that's the problem that FEMME is solving. You're not asking them to change their behavior or start taking 10,000 steps a day out of nowhere, right?
Oh
But
yeah,
just
that's
start
not where you start when you've been at 2,500.
exactly. So the plan is to fit in that support into the flow of their existing lives, to just flow with life. So it doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like life. It feels like a friend. It feels like an ally, someone that wants me to get through this, not someone that is monitoring me and that's going to beat me up if I fail. So I feel like that is true equity by making that support easy for any woman to handle, whether the busy woman, the woman who has all the time, the woman who can use apps. I had an app that I did not understand. I would be so frustrated. I didn't even know where to go and track this symptom or where to go and do this. It was a whole lot. I don't want to start thinking about how to navigate your app because I'm in pain. That's why I created them to just be easy. And yeah.
Okay, so let's bring this down into a real life experience. Let's say I've got a big presentation that's coming up at work later on today or tomorrow, and oh my heavens, that time has arrived. I've got cramps going on, and I'm looking for a way to surf my way through this.
Yeah.
How does FEMME play into that sort of a situation?
FEMME was built to send daily check-ins, right? So you don't even need to go and reach out to FEMME and say, I'm feeling this way. Every day, FEMME sends a check-in. How are you feeling? How are you feeling right now? And then if you get to open up and explain what you're feeling, our first pillar is empathy. Before trying to give you an advice or tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do, it's just to empathize with you and just sit with you. Because sometimes women just need to be hugged. Some people don't really need any more advice, right?
I need someone to say, girl, I get it. This really sucks.
Exactly. So the first thing is empathy and validation. FEMME will validate what you're dealing with. There's nothing like maybe that's not really it, or maybe it's in your head, or are you sure? Of course you're sure. We understand that all these
I'm living it right now. I'm pretty darn sure.
So when we start with empathy and validation, you see that someone already feel better. I had someone who reached out to me and said, I just want you to be here with me. I just want them to be here with me. I don't really have any serious problem to solve. There's nothing new to tell me. I know all these things, but I just need you to be here with me, to witness with me. So our first step is presence. Just be there, validate the situation, empathize with her, and then find out what can she do, not what we want her to do or what we think she should do. Some women know that they should take a walk, but that day there is no energy, no motivation. It's not because she's lazy. She's probably just tired. So there's something
Pain
else.
will wear your butt out in a hurry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't everybody take a walk around the house, dance because it helps. I don't feel like dancing.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a mood lifter, but not when you're in pain and crampy. It's
Exactly.
not.
So
Yeah.
it's that those different contexts is what actually makes FEMME helpful. Understanding that today you are stressed out, have a presentation, there's no way you can start dancing right now. That would be madness. So why don't you just sit up and take a sip of water and just breathe for a minute and let's see what happens next. If you feel much better, maybe you can just walk to the door. You don't need to walk around the house. Not walking around the house for one day will not change anything, and that's the truth, right? Not taking 1,000 steps today will not change or add anything. It's just unnecessary pressure. So the day that the woman is energized and feeling up for it, of course, FEMME will recommend that. And if she's not feeling for it, FEMME will recommend something else that helps. And of course, there are sometimes that FEMME will just recommend just lie in bed. Nothing will happen. If you take 1 extra hour for yourself, the world will not end. Work will go on. Everything will go on. And you find out that it's those moments of witnessing, those moments of presence and support that makes the difference. All these few months of getting feedback from women, you find out that it's not even about the PCOS. It's not about the endometriosis. It's not about the symptoms. It's about not feeling alone. People just want to feel like somebody's here with me. She understands me and she supports me. She's my ally. We can break the rules together and try again tomorrow. Because for women with hormonal conditions that are lifelong, there is no cure for most of these things. You cannot escape your hormones. Trust me. You're always going to have these symptoms here and there. So it's not about curing it. It's about staying with you to make those days, livable. To just feel like.
Exactly. And I had an invisible time at one point early in my life. They had changed my hormones. I'd been on birth control and they changed the birth control I was on to a different balance of estrogen and progesterone. And it literally the last day or so and the first day or so of my period, I would be on this crazy whiplash emotional roller coaster kind of situation. And after the first one of those happened, I called the office and explained what had happened. And they're like, oh, yeah, sometimes it just takes a while to get used to it. Don't worry about it. It should be better next month, which it wasn't. And I called them again after everything had passed and explained that, no, this wasn't better. This was actually worse. And they're like, oh, no, don't worry about it. And so month 3, when it rolled around, because I'm running out of sick days that I can call into the office, I called them during it and I said, you will take me off of this. And suddenly they paid attention. Oh, it's that bad, is it? Yes, it is.
It's really crazy that women are not believed and they feel like we don't know what we are saying or we don't understand. And that invisible burden is actually bigger than the symptoms itself. Honestly, I remember growing up, I used to hear that during the AIDS pandemic, people died from fear and isolation, even much more than the virus itself. So people were dying because of the stigma, feeling that it's not worth fighting for. And I see this version in women's health every day.
Yeah.
The hormonal chaos is hard, the period pains are hard, the symptoms are hard, but that loneliness, that feeling dismissed, feel like they don't get me, I'm crazy, I'm being dramatic. That's what really breaks people. And when you're suffering and your doctors, your colleagues, your family members keep telling you it's all in your head, it's normal, other women deal with this, you start to actually lose your sense of self. That emotional burden, it determines the quality of your life more than the symptom itself, honestly. Because it's not about prescription pills or fixing this or fixing that. It's about witnessing. Someone to just sit with you 3 weeks, validate you, and help you step by step. And because I needed that and I did not get it, I decided to build FEMME to be that for other women because it is real and it is definitely crazy when you're doing it alone.
Absolutely. So you mentioned earlier that FemTech has certain metrics that they like their founders to be living up to, downloads and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And reading between the lines, I'm hearing that you have bucked that system pretty significantly. How are you approaching this differently, and how is the world of technology receiving that?
Yeah, most times someone said I was the wild card, and I see firm does not always fit into what they expect a traditional startup to be like. There's this template or this blueprint of what FemTech should be like, tracking symptoms, sending data to the woman every day, just this same old pattern over and over and over again. And that's because it scales fast, honestly. It's
Yeah,
easy to do things that way, right? You can reach more people faster. You can impress investors faster when you can get 10 million downloads and then you exit quickly and move on to the next thing. But what has guided me was that this is not about tech. Like I said, it's not about Silicon Valley, it's not about investors, it's not about pitch decks, it's about legacy. It's about actually bringing dignity to women's health, because it's not an inconvenience to fix. It's not a tech problem, it's a women's problem. And so I decided to build something that witnesses with women, even though it takes a while to scale, but it is real, right? It is real. And my most important metric so far is breakthrough, not downloads, but how truly we break through that situation, how deeply the woman is supported, right? So if we can actually help 10, 100 women and they feel sincerely supported, not made up stories, they feel sincerely seen and sincerely supported, for me, that's the best metric we could have so far. So
I
I'm not
love
looking
that.
to scale fast and exit, right? It's about legacy, creating something that is sustainable, something that lasts. And we are willing to play the long game, no matter how long it takes. As long as these
Exactly.
women are saying they are being helped, they are being supported, that's what makes me happy. That's what keeps me going.
There you go. I love that. I think that's one of the best metrics you can have, honestly. I want to dig into this a little bit more, but we are up on our second break already. What do you suggest for us as a thought exercise over this particular break?
Yes, I'll just say that for this thought exercise, I'd like us to think about how dignified we feel our health is. Do you feel like your symptoms or your periods or whatever you're dealing with is something shameful, something that's an inconvenience? It's not about what people say, it's about how do you feel? What do you see as an inconvenience, something that is shameful, something that should be hidden? Or do you feel like you're broken? There's a glitch somewhere or something is actually wrong with you? Because that's what's going to shape the future of women's health. Women speaking up for themselves and understanding that they are not the problem. The problem is the system, the support that you're not getting. So do you think your health is an inconvenience? Do you think your hormones are a glitch in your system? Or do you believe that this is just how you are and you need to be seen and supported this way?
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think one of the things we tend to forget is the system isn't just out there, but it also lives inside of us, inside of our hearts and our heads. And that's a lot of times the first place that that shift has to take place. So think about your experience around that and hang with us. We'll be right back from the break.
Oh, check it loud, but we're here. Tech is ours and we show no fear. No fear. No fear. No fear.
Thanks for hanging in with us through the break. This is Zofia Morales. I'm back with the amazing, wonderful Muji. So, over the break, you invited us to explore the stories that we're telling ourselves about our health, our system, our needs. And is this something that we feel is kind of reflexively shameful? What is going on? What's hanging around that story for us? So, if we've been honest with ourselves and we have identified, you know what, it feels a little shameful or awkward to admit that I have a lot of pain with my period or whatever the thing is, how do we start to shift that story?
Thanks to Zofia. I used to be embarrassed to death about menstruating in public or even being seen with a sanitary pad, right? It used to feel like the end of life. And
Yeah,
then one
life will
day,
end if somebody knows that I have a Kotex.
and that's how many women feel about it actually. So one of those days, I went to a store to get sanitary pads and they didn't have a bag for me to package them in. So what they had was a transparent bag. And so
Oh, okay. Yeah, no
it was,
brown paper here.
and so we had a male store attendant who was already panicking, trying to find something for me to cover it up because he probably felt that this is embarrassing and I'll be embarrassed. But I said, no, no problem, it's fine, just give it to me. I walked out of there with the sanitary pads in a transparent bag with my head held high and just tossing my hand across. And what happened? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. The
No,
world did
no
not
one
end.
even looked at you twice, I'm
No
sure.
one even noticed.
Yeah.
No one noticed. Nothing happened. I didn't die. Nothing happened. I walked back home and the day went on normally. Then I wondered, so why are we hiding it?
Yeah, why make this big deal? Yeah.
Yeah, it's about bringing dignity to women's health and it starts with us. We say it's a women's problem and needs a women's solution. We need to ask ourselves, why do we feel this way about our body? I know it's not our fault. We have inherited all these years and years of stigma. But if a rule doesn't work, it's okay to break it.
Yeah.
I made a post one time on LinkedIn about why are we hiding sanitary pads at work when it's not a bomb or it's not contraband. The post went viral and I got all kinds of comments. It was crazy. It was insane. I had people telling me about.
You shot the sacred cow.
I know, right? Menstrual pads on LinkedIn. It was like this girl has lost her mind, right? People were telling me about their culture. I got a lot of messages about culture, about ancestors, about tradition, about shame, about what our mothers did. And I'm like, look, let's be serious. This is not about not being ashamed. This is about dignity. And we confuse shame with dignity, right? So if we are still smuggling sanitary pads around, if we cannot even say I'm on my period without feeling like dying, how then do we have honest conversations about hormonal imbalances, about PMS, about endometriosis, about PCOS? Women are living in pain. I cannot even begin to explain what women are dealing with every day. Bleeding for over 7 days, in pain that sometimes they faint and get hospitalized, and they cannot say it because they are feeling ashamed. What exactly are we doing? This is half the world's population going through these challenges, and we are still acting like it's a niche. This
Yes,
is a
we're
primary
pretending like it doesn't exist. Yeah.
I don't know. This is a primary healthcare issue. It's not a niche market. It's not women's health. It is global health. So
yeah,
we need
for over half of the population, women are technically over half.
Yeah. So when I talk about how you feel about your health, how you feel about your body, it's not about being provocative, right? It's not about being rebellious. It's about choosing dignity over discretion because we need to stop sugarcoating our health struggles to make others comfortable. These men exist because women menstruate. So what are we really
Hello.
talking about?
Hello.
So when we start to normalize this conversation about our body, if you can say I am on my period, that's why I feel like this today. If you're at work and say, can I use the bathroom and change my sanitary pad, the world will not end. So it will be easier for you to later talk about your symptoms. You can later talk about taking the day off or how you feel. But if we can't even start talking about these things existing, how do we fight for better health for women when it does not even exist? I was talking to someone, a male friend, and he said he did not even know periods were that serious. He thought it was just bleed and go. He did not know people have mood swings, people faint, people take painkillers, because nobody talks about it. And then when one or two women talk about it, it's as if they are busy or they are being dramatic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if we have,
Dramatic tends to be the thing that gets labeled a lot of times. It's like, oh, it can't be that bad. Oh, yes, it
exactly,
can.
and I think the problem is because majority of women are not speaking up. So it's more like these few ones that are talking are over exaggerating, right? Because if it was that bad,
Because
why is
no one
everyone
else is
else?
saying anything.
Yes. So
Exactly.
that's why I started talking about it. And I encourage men to talk about it because all of us cannot be dramatic at the same time. We can't all be crazy.
At the same time, exactly. It's a
Yeah.
very common experience.
So
Yes.
if I feel this way, Zofia feels this way, everybody else feels this way, it's obvious that this is something serious, right? And we should not have to choose between our career and our health, our ambition. Leave. Someone told me that she declined an interview because she was not feeling great and she could not say it. So you can imagine what women are dealing with. And these things are so uncalled for because most times, if you talk to them, they might understand. But because they have not even tried yet, they are just living in the shame we inherited from our ancestors who did not even understand what was going on.
Yeah.
God bless their soul, but they didn't do us any good.
And a lot of times you'll bring these things to your provider and you'll get brushed off. Like you were saying, a lot of times you don't feel seen. My experience with the birth control pills was one of those. We're not hearing the experience that you're bringing forward. And in fact, I'm a big advocate for advocating for your experience because so many of us have been trained into, well, the doctor with the white coat is the one that's the expert in the room. But that's not the end truth. The truth is there are two experts in that room. One has a great depth of medical understanding. The other one has a great depth of understanding of how this particular body responds to what's going on in life, in food, in medicine. And that expertise needs to be respected in that room as well.
Definitely, definitely. It's sad because the woman who is the patient bears the burden of proof. How do you prove that? How do you prove that I'm having mood swings, right? These are not the
You call
usual.
them during the mood swing. That's what I discovered.
Right. So how do we prove that I'm having a mood swing? How do I prove that I'm having brain fog? I can't think clearly. So these symptoms are invisible and
Right.
they are not used to this kind of symptoms. They are used to the flus, the swelling. Oh, I can see this and
Yeah,
I
broken
believe this.
bones, it shows up
Yeah.
on an x-ray, right? Yeah.
So we need to look at those invisible symptoms much more seriously. And I think it starts from us, women in better positions that can speak up, female doctors, female nurses, women in HR. Because if you don't speak up for women at work, who will? So
Yeah.
since we have the burden of proof, we need to do much more heavy lifting in making this world bearable for women. Because right now
Yeah.
it's not.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that I love about the female entrepreneur and supporting her and moving forward because when you are a female entrepreneur, you have much more license to create an environment that works for you and that
Yeah,
works for other women. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about supporting the female entrepreneur because right now the guys have been making the rules for generations. And it's time for the women to make some themselves.
definitely. Definitely.
So we're down to the last few minutes of the show here. Would you like to share how a listener who might be interested in looking into FEMME a little bit more, being part of the experimental support group, that sort of thing, how can they
Yeah.
get involved if they're interested in this?
Yeah, so it's easy. You could just type in FEMME Health Companion on Google and you will get straight to our page. But if you want to speak to me directly first, because I like to talk to the women that use FEMME, I like to understand how they're feeling because it helps shape what we are building, right? We're building with them, not really at them. So you could reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram, Muji Bekomson, and we could get started. So it's easy to find us so far.
And if you didn't catch all of that with your pen and paper, it will be down in the show notes. So make sure to look for it there. With the last few minutes that we have in the show, Muji, Tell me a little bit about how you imagine women changing the future of FemTech. What does this look like for you 5 years from now, 10 years from now? The more women that actually get into doing FemTech and kind of taking it away from the guys.
Definitely. Someone asked me a question. Do I think it's okay for men to be femtech founders? Because she has no idea. Well, these guys are promoting a period app. What do they even know? I had to laugh for a few minutes. And honestly, we can't stop the men from building products. Most of them are just there for the tech, right? Create a
Right.
new tool, scale, exit. But for women in femtech, I think in 5 years from now, we should push towards making that word femtech obsolete, because I hate the word. I think that I feel like it puts women's health in a box, right? It
Right.
makes
Yeah,
it feel like
it's
it's a
niche.
niche.
Yes, we're
Yeah, it
niche
feels like
again.
it's a niche. And I keep saying women's health is not a niche. Half of the world deal with this issue. So first of all, can we drop the femtech? I don't even like when people refer to me as female founder. I'm a founder, right? And then
Right.
femtech is another really annoying thing that I have to deal with. So for now, we still use the word because that's what people understand and relate to. But in
Yeah.
5 years from now, I hope we can trash that word and let women's health be primary health care. Let it be global health. Because when we keep calling ourselves femtech founder, we put ourselves in a box. Now we have a category for tech and a category for femtech. Why?
Yeah. It should be tech and health tech if you're going to
Yes.
make it anything. Yeah.
So we have health tech, then we have femtech, which is really absurd because half the world population are these women that you're categorizing. And so we just reduce everything to a tiny box. Talking about hormones, periods, lifelong situations. It's not a niche, it's primary health care. It should be like a fifth vital sign, right?
Yes.
So it should be when you go to get checked, when they check your pulse, your blood pressure, they should find out what phase of your cycle you're at. Because all of these things affect how our bodies work. But if we keep putting ourselves in these little categories, femtech, this tech, I think it's really weird and it minimizes the work that we are doing. So for me, in the next 5 years, femtech should be obsolete.
It should just be health tech and let's
Yeah.
go from there. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Muji. It's been a delightful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, dear listener, for showing up for this conversation today. I hope it's been helpful to you. I hope it's been affirming to you. I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment below this if you're on YouTube, if you're listening on a podcast. You can shoot me an email to Zofia, Zofia, at steminstilettos.com. And just let me know what your thoughts or your reactions are. I certainly look forward to hearing from you. And until next week, go out, be bold, be beautiful, and be authentically you.